Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Grassroots Racer. I'm always on the lookout for new guests to share their motorsport stories, so please drop me a message if you are interested on coming on the show or you know someone else who would love to share their passion for motorsport. You don't need to be a driver, as I've spoken to photographers, people involved in the pit crew, volunteers, people even involved in media, and it's all about sharing the love for motorsport no matter what level you're at, where you at, and what you do, as long as you're involved. Now, on to tonight's guest, who has never had the money to race when he was younger, which happens a lot when you don't have the support of family. But, I'm very fortunate to, but some other people, as you've seen on the podcast, don't have that support behind them. So he certainly made up for it in his later years. Racing in categories like Improved Production, the Australian Production Car Series Nationals, Super 6 Touring Cars, and he currently competes in the new Australian TT Championship. I can't wait to speak to him tonight, so it's a big welcome to Brent Edwards. But where did you first get your passion for motorsports?
Well, as a young child watching Bathurst, like probably a lot of people around my age, it was a watching Bathurst 1977, watching Moffat and Bond in the Ford Falcon hardtops. You've probably seen that vision of that Ayrton somewhere.
Yeah.
It's pretty famous, going side by side, winning the race, and watching the end of that race really got me in, made me want to drive race cars basically. And after that, it was my everything I did in life was trying to get there. Didn't become professional, but unfortunately, because I wasn't from a family that could put me into karting or had the money to do anything like that. So I didn't really get into it until I was in my early 20s in the end, and I could sort of buy myself a car, and didn't know how to get into it either, which was a thing back then, because you had used to go along was into it, followed it all, bought all the magazines, Auto Action every 2 weeks, and the like with it, and followed it, but had no idea how to get into it, and because we didn't have the karting path or that sort of thing. And then at the when hire kart facilities started coming in, a guy by the name of Kevin Waldock started Playscape Racing, he was into dynamite and all that sort of stuff, and aviation companies and all that. Had a passion for racing, and started indoor high kart centres, and I went along and had a crack on that, and went pretty well. And they were proper karts then; they were proper go-kart chassis.
Mhm.
They soon found out they got trashed pretty easily in that environment, and they went to the big beefy ones they got now. But in those days, they were proper go-kart chassis with pods, proper tie rods, and all that sort of thing. And went along there, had went pretty well at it, and then actually got a job there, working there part time. And at the end of the night, after everyone's sent home, we'd end up fueling up the carts, and we'd be banging around there for hours. And there was people who were pretty good go-karters and all that there, and champions and all that in go-karting, and I went pretty well against them in that. So I thought, oh, there's probably something in this. So I actually found an opportunity to buy I had a Datsun 1600 road car, and I thought, well, this would be a really good thing to start doing track stuff, and found out I could join a car club, and join a car club that was into sort of doing sprints and the like, and got into it that way in the end. So no go-karting, just in my own car, and that led to racing basically. And still no rich parents. I was still working for I was working as a for Telecom at the time, or Telstra as it's known now, and I was having to drive taxis of a night time to pay to go racing. So I was working during the day, and then driving taxis of a night time to go racing. And very, very quite often it'd be would have the car loaded up on the trailer. I'd get back from driving the taxi, and my brother would actually drive us to the racetrack with the car on the back, and I'd sleep in the car going to the race up to Winton or something. So that's the way it was back then.
Yeah, and that's passion for you. You know, obviously you are passionate, determined to do it. So those are the sacrifices that you made. Um, and yeah, like honestly, even if you don't make it professional, just the love of racing is just awesome. You know, going out there, having a bit of fun. So heading down to Winton, not too bad. But when you said you bought the 1600 Datsun, what sort of categories did you race in? Because you did sprint days, hill climbs. So what were you
Yeah,
classified
yeah.
as?
So yeah, we started off. It was an ex rally car, like a club rally car that I bought, and it had some good gear in it already. Yeah, I had a side draft Weber Carby and some good gear on it. So we basically went out and did club sprints with the Nissan Datsun Sports Owners Club back then, and went into there. From that, they did hill climbs. We did motorcanas in it, all that sort of stuff. It was all great fun. And from there, it's sort of, okay, I want to do something a bit better. So we, club cars, which was what improved production was previously called. We put a cage into it, an alloy cage, way back then, alloy bolting cage put into it, and went out and ran, um, uh, which is improved production now, was called Club Cars N. Went out with all the gear and no idea, and pretty found out pretty much. Oh, we got a bit to learn here. With this racing car bit, because I think I was fighting down Phillip Island in the race there for P last in the first race I was battling there for. So had to. It was a pretty steep learning curve because absolutely had no idea on how to do it, but we knew. Oh, we'll just get this car, go out, have a crack. Um, couldn't afford new tires, so just get secondhand hand-me-down tires, which we didn't know was stuff. We just went out, we just won the race. And after, I used to have to borrow and beg and get things off people who help us to go racing, there and do all that and get out there just because we loved it. So that car ended up doing a couple of years of improved production and club stuff, and then we actually a guy named Lee Warren came along and started the 2 litre sports sedan class, which was at Calder last weekend when we were out there racing. They're on the same bill. And we started the 2 litre sports sedan class with them way back then in the early 90s.
Mm.
And we ran with them for a few years and really didn't really get anywhere. It was just, no money, didn't know any better still, didn't have the right tyres on or couldn't buy tyres or whatever. And in the end, yes, we just got sick of having to work 2 jobs to go racing. And by that time, I had a family coming along, so something had to give. And we probably got out of that in the mid-90s, and I didn't get really back into the sport until around 2010, 2011.
And did you ever race at Calder Park before it was brought back to life?
Yeah, I actually did my original license test there. So that's a story in itself because the race car at the time we did the license test in did the clutch before we went out. So I had an XE Falcon road car as a tow car, which was a manual, and we jumped in that thing, and I did my observed license test in that at Calder, which was really interesting because you're out there doing races with other saloons, Formula Vs, Formula Fords, all these things. And in a big Falcon, you couldn't see where they were next to you in the braking zone. You'd pass them down the straight and they'd be all over you down the corners and the like. So, that was a bit interesting. But I'd completed club sprints there. But since that observed license test, that was the first time I've been back there. But I've been there plenty of times testing and doing sprints before it closed. And I actually got a chance to do a night sprint just when I was getting back into the sport in a road car. There, I might have been with the Ford 4 Car Club or something, and it was raining at night with the lights on there, and the drag strip still had the
Oh
prep
god.
on it, and it was
Yep.
diabolical. Like you're coming out in the drag strip, and everyone's having absolute tank slappers, and some people were drilling the fence there too. So it was a pretty expensive night for a lot of people because you couldn't get traction until you're well past a quarter mile on that with the track prep. Thankfully, they don't have that on there now, and
Mm.
it was a lot better.
Yeah. I went back to Calder. Like I'd never driven there because obviously I'm so young. But I went to Calder maybe a month ago, 2 months ago. Um,
Yep.
and like it was awesome. Like they just peeled the drag strip and redone it. So the concrete was fresh, but it also rained when I went there for one session. So you would come out of the last corner, and even in the Formula V, you would be a bit sideways trying to
Oh, yeah,
chase it.
it was sketchy as.
Yeah,
We had a little bit of rain there. It was a little bit sketchy going over there, and in my current car, the Falcon is right on a gear change point. So with the gear ratio we were running there, so as you'd hit that sort of patch, and it was a little bit sketchy there most times, and sometimes a big slide through there as well. In the Falcon too, but it's great to have it back up. We need more tracks, and you go up to Sydney to race, and they've only got one track now. And we've got Winton, we've got Phillip Island, we've got Sandown still, and now we've got Calder coming on as well. So it's just great to have another one so close to town
yeah,
as well. So without having to go too far away, like I'm on the Mornington Peninsula. It took me hour 20 to get out there, which was great.
yeah. Actually, I'm in a bit of a crappy spot. I'm in Bendigo, so sort of all the Victorian tracks are a little bit of a distance. Calder's about an hour 40. Sandown's about 2 hours, 2:10 maybe. Winton's probably about an hour 40 as well, or maybe 2 hours. Yeah, it depends on how
Yeah,
you
it
go
depends
for
which way
time.
you go.
Yeah. And then you got Phillip Island, and that's whatever it takes you to get there.
Yeah. So have you done much with the V around the place?
Yeah, I've been I've been at every track in Victoria in the V, so yeah, it's been
Ah,
all right.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing that?
Uh since last year, yeah. So
Oh, great.
last year I rolled out my car, which I built at 12 years old. So I brought the car for 2 grand, which is really good, and it came bare chassis with a box, two boxes, three boxes full of parts. My 12-year-old self with dad put the thing together. I rolled it out for round two of the state series at Winton. And in the last race on the last lap, I binned it and totaled it.
Which corner did you bend it on?
Turn three.
Turn three. Yeah.
There's actually photos of me
Oh,
on the
turn
internet.
three.
At
Oh,
yeah, yeah. So I come out of the corner and I got a slide, and when I caught it, it gripped back, and I skipped the gravel trap and hit the wall at like 120 head on.
yeah.
Yeah, and I
I've
done my
been off. I've
shins.
been off there a couple of times, but I haven't hit the
Yeah,
wall there.
yeah.
I drilled the wall at turn two a few years ago
Oh
in the
yeah.
Falcon. The hit the curb awkward coming out of turn two, and it just spat me into the fence. It went in pretty hard that day. So, been off at turn three a few times there, but not enough to hit the fence though.
Yeah. Well, the gravel trap's pretty good if you're in a heavy car, but with the Formula V's, it's 500 kilos with the driver.
Yeah,
So yeah, you're light as so pretty much when you get airtime, you're not really slowing down anytime soon.
yeah. I got a mate who used to race Formula V's years and years ago, and he used to say a Formula V race would take 20 minutes to do and an hour to talk about after the
Yeah.
race.
Mm. So much going on. Like we were at Sandown last weekend, just past, and we we had a bit of issues with the clutch. It was slipping. So the start of the race, I'd be with the back of the pack, and then by lap four, they'd just drive off because its clutch started slipping. Um,
Yeah,
but like the amount of crashes I had to avoid was insane doing each
yeah.
race.
That's it's a good startup class, and it's a good one to be in. Teach you a bit of racecraft, drafting.
Yeah,
that sort of thing as well.
yeah, it's awesome for racecraft, but lots of
Yeah,
the guys who don't have any idea seem to struggle a fair bit with contact straight off the bat
yeah.
because you just can't make contact in open wheel racing. It just
No,
doesn't
no,
go
you
well.
can't. You end up climbing over each other's tires and going
Mm.
upside down.
Yeah, well, because I got lucky last year. I come into MG at Phillip Island, and someone was down the inside, and they just weren't stopping, and they hit the side of my car, and their front wheel just touched my back wheel, and it sent me in the air a little bit, but that could have gone a lot worse.
Yeah, no, it's scary.
Mm. And yeah, did you ever drive any open wheel race cars, or did just
No, it's been mainly saloons. So we started with the Datsun. When we got back, when I got back into it, I took quite a few years off, and I had an FPV road car, and I got invited to do a club sprint with a friend of mine with her car club up at Winton with it, and I thought, oh yeah, I've got a spare weekend. I wanted to pump up the tires, and I'll take it out. It's a fast car. I'd like to see, I'd like to see it on the track. And ended up getting second fastest time of the day up there. I thought, oh, this is dangerous. We're back into it now. So from there, I joined another car club and started doing club sprints, hill climbs, and the like again with them, and got the bug from that. Then did the 6 hour relay
yeah,
with them, and started the race, and yeah, it was great fun. Absolutely loved it. I was back, enjoyed it. From that, I got an opportunity to drive one of Ted Robinson's Ford production cars. So we found some budget to go and do that, and I got my license back again. So doing my license, I had to get off my P's
Hmm.
to run with them again. Because if we were going to went straight into national production cars with Ted, so I had to do national production cars, national championship. Couldn't be on P's, so I had to go and find some different things to drive to get off
yeah,
P's. So I did one race at Phillip Island in one of his cars. I did a race in a 944. I did a race meeting in an MG at Sandown. So got off the P's and went running with them. And around that time, did a couple of meetings with them. And around that time, Ford pulled out of racing
hmm.
because they were just before they were closing down everything. So it sort of left us high and dry after a couple of production car races. So I wasn't sure of what to do, and I went and bought an EA Falcon saloon car, and I thought, okay, well, I'll race the national series in the EA, and I didn't know much about it then, what was going on with them, but I didn't know that the EAs were like, I knew they were a class below because they're the older cars then.
Hmm.
But we went along with them, and I took it out and tested it and blew the engine out before the
Oh,
first round. Oh, well, I took it out, tested, everything was all right. We put on the dyno, and the engine blew on the dyno.
oh,
So I didn't have a car to run the first round. And the first round was at Sandown of the Shannon Series in 2014. So I went over, I was talking to a guy by the name of Les Morrell, who ran the Saloon Car Series. And he said, well, what if I buy you a car and you just lease off me and you do the rest of the series? So Les went out and bought an AU Falcon,
hmm.
and I was teammates with Ben Grice,
Ah,
who I think you had on your podcast before.
yep.
And Benny and I were teammates for 501 Performance, and they had the two saloon cars, and they had a supercar running the Kumo series as well. So that was a lot of fun with those guys. But like a lot of things, you soon find out that saloon cars weren't all the same. So you had a special a special gearbox. If you had the special gearbox that everyone had, you were half a second faster. So
Yeah.
when qualifying's 8/10 from first to 10th, half a second's a big difference. So very competitive class at the national level. A lot of good drivers. Um, you had to be really consistent. I had a few DNFs, breaking gearboxes, and a couple of crashes in the first year going around the country, but it was really good. I went out in the first meeting in the saloon car, first national meeting, qualified, eighth on the grid at Malalar, which was great. So we had a really good result that weekend, ran top 10 all weekend. And stayed with them for the rest of that year. Didn't really get all that good a finish. And then the following year, we turned up at Sandown with the AU again, with new sponsors ready to go, and had not with Les, but with other members of the team, just wasn't working for us. I wasn't happy with the car performance. So I decided to take over running the car itself, kept the car, leasing off Les, but we ran the car myself and got my brother involved, Travis Edwards.
Yep.
And Trav has got a background in, he used to look after my Datsun, but he's got a background in looking after V8 utes and all that sort of thing as well, when the ute series was really big, and very good mechanic. Could probably do whatever he wanted to, so to speak, in a in motorsport, but he prefers being a truck driver. But he come back and helped me run that for the year, and we ended up fourth in the national series in that. So we were back up there in an AU Falcon, probably second out of the Falcons too for that year, when the Commodores were the car to have, because they were much quicker. And from that's national series got cancelled by Motorsport Australia. So we were just about to bring in the new generation cars, and I'd already bought a BA Falcon. We'd already started building it for the third generation of saloon cars. And the national series was cancelled. So in 2016, we actually debuted that in the state racing series, the first BA Falcon to race down here, and put on the front row at Winton, first race meeting out. Hadn't turned a wheel since the day before on the Friday. So we built a pretty good car straight off, and a few teething problems with that, but that became a really good car for us over the years. And that's the car we've got now still, which after they wrote out the rules of saloon cars, we turned it into a sports, what we call a Super TT now. So, which it's got a sports sedan logbook, but it now runs a turbocharger on it. So it's a quick thing. So we decided, because it already had a 6 in it, and we already had the wiring loom and the ECU to run that engine, we'd just turbocharge it. It's probably looking back, it probably wasn't a great idea. Probably just should have put a V8 in it. Would have saved me a lot of money and heartache. But it's really cool now because it's an individual car. There's not many like it running turbos. And it's something that's, when we take it up to Bathurst, like this year up at Bathurst, people watching it go around Bathurst in the combined sedans, and they're coming up saying, "Oh, that's Turbo Barrow," and they're all going crazy. So it's got a bit of a cult following, that car now. So that's really cool. Besides that, we've raced production cars, BMWs, Commodores as well. So I started racing for a guy in Sydney called Trevor Mirabito from TLA Racing, and he's had Commodores, BMWs, and the like, and we've gone up and raced with them. We actually won Class B in the 6 hour with him this year. Yep. So that was a nice one to get to.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've obviously done a fair bit over the years. So, but if you could have
came a fair bit into the last 10 and took a few years off.
But if you had your choice, would you rather have driven the Commodore or the Ford when you did the National Series?
The saloon car.
Yeah, sorry,
yeah. Probably should have gone on Commodore. I like my Fords. Don't get me wrong. I'm a Ford man. I prefer Fords, but as a racing driver, I think the Commodore was a better package at the time. And the parity. You talk about parity in supercars and all that. The parity wasn't quite there at the time. I think the Commodore was a better unit at the time compared to compared to the Falcon. Different rear suspension, different configuration of engine as well. Those things used to squat and just launch out of the corners.
Yeah.
So they were a better thing. So probably made the mistake of going into a Falcon there when I should have said, "Hey, give me a Commodore. We'll go running in a Commodore." So, but yeah, really competitive series. That some really good drivers in there, and I just got a lot of them went on to other things over the years, which is great to see. But it was still really competitive right up to the end. And guys like we're racing guys like Ash Jarvis, who's leading the National Sports Stands series now, and won a TA2 series as well. We'd be with him every week. There. Gav Ross, was a really accomplished guy there. Unassuming, but can drive. Guys like Lindorf were in there. Some of the South Australian guys were really quick too. So there was really quick drivers, and they're sort of a car that the saloon car was a car where to get a lap time out of them, you really had to get up on the wheel and rag the thing. Which once you worked that out, that was really cool, and everyone just ragged them. And they were good, pretty exciting to watch. I was telling someone the other day about Queensland Raceway race. We're 5 wide going into turn 3 at one race meeting down at the start of a race at Queensland Raceway. It's just absolutely wild. And I was part of some wild races there, and they're all televised in on Speed Week, so everyone got to see them. And we used to get bagged going to see your mates next weekend. I saw you on the weekend on the TV. You're a maniac.
Yeah. Well, we've only got Blendline these days for state series, but hey, it's
No,
still
Blendline
pretty good
do
though.
an excellent job. They do Blendline do a better coverage than some of the free-to-air coverages that they do. So I know Dan and a lot of the team there. I've known them for years, and they do a fantastic job. They've come so far.
Yeah, they've done all right, but yeah, I I'm not saying anything, but sometimes I feel like that they underestimate me a little bit.
Well, you got to go and give them your CV to the commentary. Go Daz at the commentary, and go and let them know about you.
Yeah,
Self promote if you want to get the coverage. When we did national series, used to be. You'd have the entry. The entry was, pretty expensive. Like, I don't know, it was about $5,000 a round or something
yeah,
back
right.
then. 5 or 6 grand a round or something. But it used to be $200 to put a camera in your car from the broadcaster from AVE. So you pay the extra $200 to put a camera in your car because you'll guarantee coverage if you're running, 5th or 25th, because it always shows some coverage from your car. And you've got your sponsors and everything across your dash there. So, you always get some sort of mention, some sort of coverage on every race. So I don't know why a lot of people didn't do it. Like a lot of people say, I can't go and do that. But you've got TV coverage. You can sell sponsorship when you're on TV. And that's what I loved about that series, because we can say, we're going to be on TV. We're going to be on SBS free to air. We're going to be at Speed Week this week. We're going to get live streamed on the Sunday if you want to watch it live streaming. Get around it. We've got a camera in. You're always going to get on.
Yeah, no, definitely Blendline's great for that. They caught a performance I did at Phillip Island, so I started like, you probably don't know, but I've had a lot of trouble with my car.
I've been through that.
Yeah,
You have really shitty years, and you have really good years.
yeah,
And we've come off a couple of really shitty years too. Don't worry about that.
yeah. So we started like 18th out of 23, I think it was. And within 2 corners, it was raining. So that was sort of my equalizer.
Beautiful.
So within 2 corners, I was P9. And I passed every single car legitimately without any of them spinning. And then by the end of the highest point I got to was P7. Then I dropped back to P8 on the last lap. We won't say why, but no, me and this guy come into MG, and we both spun in synchronization, and he got away quicker, so he took the spot from me. But
well,
it is.
I've spun an MG a few times. Don't worry, you're not.
But the rain was bad. Like it kept coming down, 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 and yeah. I did a pretty good move, which I'm pretty proud of. I was coming around the last corner, and these two guys were on the inside, not knowing where the grip was. And I just put my foot to the floor, went round the outside, and I left Dan McCarthy and Steve the Vries speechless. Like if you watch the broadcast, they like they stop for a second and they're like, yeah,
Oh, fantastic.
yeah. That's my proud moment, but yeah, hopefully more to come.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, stick with it. You just keep on working at it. You're always learning.
Mm.
With race cars, you're always learning little things, and I like to write. Whenever we make adjustments and everything and do things, we've got we record everything. We've got
Yeah,
everything in a book, and if I can't work out why something's doing there, I go, oh, what did we do back here? Oh yeah, we did this, this, and this, and even on the weekend at Calder, like we were running, we were running 104s in the Falcon. It was pretty quick there.
yeah,
And Sunday morning, I just made a click of the shock absorbers, on the front because I remembered something from the race the day before. We went a second quicker in that race.
yeah.
So it's just those little things that you think, okay, I think this can actually make it better,
Mm.
and you can. You can actually make a big difference, but it takes a while to build up that knowledge bank as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always important to sort of record what you're doing. Because it really does make a difference when you're out on track.
Yeah, yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
I just had a quick question for you. What advice would you give to your 16-year-old self?
Not get married. Not get married. Keep on pushing to go to be a professional race car driver. That hopefully my ex-wife doesn't see this. It would be just to keep on pushing. I got disheartened because I was just pushing. I was bringing up a family. I didn't have the money to do it. When I got back into it, I was working for myself, so I could actually do those things. So one of the things with working for yourself, you have a lot more flexibility in you won't find many people in pit lane who aren't sort of entrepreneurs, driving or own their own businesses, that sort of thing. I didn't have rich dad.
Mm.
Like some of the kids coming up there and dad's just paying for everything. We didn't have that. So I had to find a way to go racing, the way to make money to go racing. If you're going to do it, if you're going to stick with it, you're never going to have anything nice in your life to play with unless you make the upper echelons and making money out of it. You're not going to have nice stuff like boats and nice road cars and all that. If you're going to go racing, you got to sacrifice that. Sacrifice going out drinking with your mates down the pub. That sort of thing, and just focus on that one thing. Focus on that one thing. And just get aligned. I probably didn't know where to start to get aligned with the sport.
Mm.
If I had known what I had now, I would have got involved and networked with a lot more people around the sport, so I knew what to do and got some information, because there's a lot of smart people around the sport. A lot
Yeah.
of people have been around for years and know what they're doing, and that's probably what I would have done. Like, I always wanted to be a race car driver, but I didn't know how to get there. Didn't have the money to do it.
Yeah.
Probably could have gone on a bit further. I don't know. You never know. Some people don't go on further, don't get up to top echelon either. But you never know unless you have a crack. And just got to keep pushing and be determined. Got to have a
Yeah.
bit of mongrel in you too. That's one thing I've learned. Don't let people push you around.
Mm.
A bit of
Yeah.
mongrel in you. Don't be afraid to send it down the inside, and if someone don't let someone rough you up, because if they rough you up once, they know, oh yeah, this guy's easy.
Yeah.
We'll keep on roughing him up. So you got to have a bit of mongrel in you too. You can't be nice out the track. You can be nice off the track, but out the track you can't be nice.
Yeah.
You want to be a
Definitely.
champion, you can't be nice.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, my parents, like, we're definitely not well off, like, because obviously I got a million and one partners helping me out, which,
Yeah,
I
I
thank them
love what
so
you're doing.
much. But the one thing my dad, like the most valuable trait he had, which I think is worth more than money, is his mindset and just his way of going about things. He's taught me virtually everything I know. So
That's great.
when I was 6, I said to him, Dad, I want to race. He said, look, I don't have the money. I said, but you're 6 years old, you know, you figure out a way. 2 years later, he finally gave me the answer. He said, if you want to go racing, he goes, go knock on doors. He goes, go to
Yeah,
businesses and ask them. And most of these guys jumped on because they're like, a young kid's come in here by himself, looking
absolutely.
looking for,
People respect that.
yeah,
People respect work ethic, and people respect people, you're doing stuff like that. Like businesses respect that. Like
mm,
this stuff that you're doing, promoting your sponsors, fantastic. I remember years ago, I actually did a radio show on a community radio show. This was before podcasts or YouTube. I was doing a motorsport segment on community radio,
I do
and
that.
I got to interview Mark Scaife when he won Bathurst in 1992. Win Percy after he won Bathurst. I think was that 91 or 90? Oh, might have been Win Percy in 1990 and Mark Scaife in 1992. I rang him up. I said, can I interview you for the radio show? I took a tape recorder and did an interview with went to go to Nissan in Dandenong when Mark Scaife was a young bloke with Nissan. He probably wouldn't remember now. And then he gave me a tour around the factory. It was awesome. And then Win Percy went out to HRT, the early days of HRT when he used to run it, when him and Alan Grice won Bathurst, and interviewed him too, because they were in Melbourne, because I could do it. And these guys just asked them, and they said, "Yeah, great, no problem." And these guys, I went to a radio station. They're all footy guys. They said, "Oh, who you got on? Who'd you interview?" I said, the Bathurst winner." What? You're kidding me? They couldn't believe it.
Would you like to thank anyone who's supported you, and where can the viewers follow you, your progress on social media?
Absolutely. Brent Edwards Racing on Facebook or our website, beracing.com.au. And Cable Source have been with me for a lot of years. Race Fuels helped me out a lot, really helped them and my team. Trav, Ian and Jeff really have helped me through everything going forward. Also, B&I and truck phones.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time, Brent. I
Thanks, Em.
appreciate you sharing your motorsport story with me. Wish you the best for the rest of the year, and hopefully I can see you at the track soon. But
Yeah, we'll
for
catch
anyone
up.
else, for anyone else who's racing this weekend, remember to drive fast and take chances safely, of course.
Sounds great. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.